NVHA 050030. It is August the 26th, 2005, our 192nd interview overall. And we're at the home of George Whittaker in Anderson, Indiana. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to come and do this interview.
You're welcome.
And we'll start out with your full name.
George Mulford Whittaker.
Okay. Now, the George or the Mulford, were they family names or?
Both.
Okay.
My maternal grandfather was a George Mulford.
Okay. All right. And what's your date of birth?
December 15th, 31. That's 1931.
We're in trouble, Jack. You got past the birthday wall.
Already cracking jokes. Watch out.
And what was your rank of discharge?
Staff sergeant.
Well, Sergeant Whittaker, where were you born?
Right here in Anderson.
Okay. Lived in Anderson all your life? Well, with the exception of a little military service.
yeah, I did a little traveling around, but for the most part, yeah, that's been home.
Okay. Now, 31, were you born in a hospital?
No, I was born in my grandmother's bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, down on the corner of 2nd and Chase, I believe.
Wow.
As I recall.
That was a cold time where.
Yeah, it was a cold winter day.
Okay. You remember that part pretty well. You got cold anyway as soon as you got
I sure did. They tell me I really squalled.
Well, I take it your mother was there.
I hope.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell me about your mom. What was her name?
Chrissy.
Chrissy?
Yes. Not Christine. Not Christina. Chrissy.
Chrissy. Okay.
Yeah. And
what was her maiden name?
Sprinter.
Sprinter.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you tell folks about her?
Well, she was a petite little woman, 5'11", didn't weigh 110 pounds soaking wet. She was a homebody, a cook, homemaker.
Sounds a lot like my mom.
Came from a fairly large family. She had 6 siblings, I believe, as I recall. And they were a close-knit family. very active among themselves. They did a lot of card playing and eating at Grandma's house, and we didn't have to wait for special occasions. It was all the time.
That's great. That's great. That's one thing I kind of miss, because it used to be Sundays were the day you went and visited family.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of miss that part. What about your father? What was his name?
Paul Otto.
Okay.
His dad's name was Carl Otto, so he had his dad's middle name.
Okay.
He was one of 6 children, and he was born in Anderson. He had a brother and a half-brother and 3 sisters.
What kind of a fellow was he?
Ornery. Ornery than me.
Oh, man.
You come by it honestly then.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. He was about my size. However, we have a lot different coloration. Now, don't start making fun of this, but I look more like my uncle than I did my dad. We had the same facial features, but my dad was dark complected and had dark hair. And his older brother was blonde and had light hair and fair complected. But all of those kids were kind of mixed. He had 2 sisters that were redheads, and then his older brother was a blonde, and his half-brother had dark brown hair. So,
okay, what about the grandparents on that side?
I have no idea. My grandfather Whittaker died when my dad was about 7 years old. Grandma was a strawberry blonde.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where that part of it came
Yeah.
from. Did you know your grandmother very well, Whittaker?
To some extent, yes. Didn't visit with them as much as I did my maternal grandparents.
Okay.
But, yeah, I was well acquainted with her.
Did she live here in Anderson?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
So your whole family?
Basically, the whole family was here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Born in your grandmother's house,
Mm-hmm.
with Springer. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And any particular reason for that, or just?
Well, it was the end of the Depression, and our whole family lived together.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lived in the family. I lived in the same group, with the same group of people from the time I was born until I was about 5 years old. My parents rented a place and moved out from living with Grandma. But yeah, I had two aunts and two uncles and a great grandmother. All lived together at the same time. Grandma and Grandpa, and Mom and Dad. Oh, we had a gang.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Hard times, but it's a rare treat to be able to spend that much time with the
Oh yeah.
rest of your family.
Yeah, I enjoyed this second generation ahead of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, really did.
Well, it was Thanksgiving every day in that house.
Just about. Yeah.
No food, but probably.
Oh yeah, we had food. Grandpa had a big garden.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how you fared during those times.
And with the three boys and Grandpa and the family, they were always either hunting or fishing, and so we always had something on the table.
Okay.
I never remember being hungry.
So, brothers and sisters, do you have any brothers and sisters?
None of them that they kept.
You were the pick of the litter, huh?
I tell everybody, my dad looked at me and said, "We'll call it a day."
That's funny. Would you ever go hunting with your dad?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Whereabouts did you go around here?
All around. I shot my first rabbit down on the Anderson City dump.
Did you really?
Yeah. My dad bought a house down on the corner of Sherman and Hazlett Street when I was, just before I started school. I must have been 6. And, of course, are you familiar with Anderson back then? Where the Container Corporation is?
Container, yes.
Well, behind Container Corporation, that is northwest of Container. Down where the current Soapbox Derby Hill is, that was all city dump.
Oh, okay.
You go down where that flowing fountain is there on Madison Avenue, and there was a road went back into the city dump. And I spent a lot of time down there when I was a kid. That's where I made my money.
Really?
Picking it up, yeah. And, of course, back then, they filled up from the river south,
Right.
and would level that off. And then there was a big bank that would drop off on the north edge, and that grew up in weeds. And when I was a teenager, I went down there with my dad and a shotgun, and I walked up on top of the hill, and my dad got down there in the weeds, and I shot my first rabbit right down there about 2 blocks from home. Of course, you could do that in town then. You can't do it now.
Yeah, you can't do it now. You know, what were some of the other things you did for fun back then?
Fished and got into hominess. It's like typical boys stuff. Played softball and whatever.
Sound like you might have done some things around Halloween time.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing you want to confess to, huh?
Well, one trick that I used to play on some of the neighbors back then, of course, we all had screen doors with springs on them, you know. And I'd get a roll of fish line, and it was always black linen or cotton or something. And I go up, slip up on their porch and tie this string, fish line around the screen door handle. And then slip across the street or out behind a bush somewhere and pull on the fish line. The door would bang shut. People would come to the door and look around, see who was there, and they'd shut the door, and real quick I'd bang on their door again. Do that 2 or 3 times until they got really aggravated, and then I'd cut them loose, leave them alone.
Can I put it on pause a second?
Can we start all over again?
Yeah, right from the start.
Okay. Yeah. It's running.
That's right, okay. A little pause here for a light adjustment. What, you had a dump to play with? You had the river to play with?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you had some good toys now.
Oh, I sure did, yeah. I had some interesting experiences. I was thinking the other day about one time I went walking out Madison Avenue North, and just ahead of just on the south side of the Madison Avenue Bridge there at White River, there was a tent pitched down there on the west side of the road. And there was an old fellow down there that had 3 or 4 goats, 3 or 4 goats in this tent. And I struck up a conversation with him. Of course, I was young and curious, 11, 12 years old. And he said that he just walked along the river and grazed his goats, and whenever he gets some work somewhere, why, he'd go buy whatever provisions he needed. In the meantime, he'd milk the nannies.
I'll be
I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, these days you'd be worried sick to let your child out of your sight.
Yeah, I wouldn't let a kid of mine go down there and walk along that river.
Yeah, different generation.
Yep.
Wouldn't have to see any steamboats or ocean liners come down.
No, not then, no.
When I was younger, I'd go down to the river and just expect to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you went to school where?
Well, I started school at Columbia,
Okay.
which used to be on the southwest corner of Madison and 8th Street,
Okay.
where the village pantry is now.
All right.
And I don't know if you remember when they built that village pantry that there was quite a fuss in the neighborhood that they wanted it kept in period design outside, because that was, a typical old grade school, and they wanted to keep it that way, more or less.
I remember it.
Yeah. That's where I started school, and then I went there until the 4th grade. And the 4th and 5th and 6th grades, I went to Riley, over on Sycamore, and then Central Junior High, and then Anderson High School.
So why Riley? Did you move?
No, at that time there was not enough room in Columbia School for all 6 grades.
Okay.
So I went through the 4th grade at Columbia, and then went to Riley for 5th and 6th.
You remember any of your teachers at either school?
Mrs. Wilson was the principal at Columbia School, and I remember that because my dad said that she was his teacher, and he knew her well, and if she warmed my britches, he would see to it that I got it again when I got home. Yes, I remember that.
And the word always seemed to get home before you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And they didn't even have telephones. Mrs. Kiesling was my 1st grade teacher, and I had a tremendous crush on my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Wilson. Yeah. But that's the only ones I remember from elementary school.
Did she ever have to exercise that option on you?
No, that didn't happen until later.
Kept your honoriness outside of school.
Yeah, for the most part.
Might as well get 1 instead of 2. what about growing up? Did you have any childhood heroes, baseball players, aviators, scoutmaster, someone in the family? I mean,
Yes, I really loved one of my uncles, Red Springer, Francis Springer, was my mom's youngest brother. And he would have taken me to raise, I'm sure. I used to go stay all night with him, and we'd read cowboy books and, westerns.
that sounds like fun.
Zane Grey,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff. And he liked to fish and liked to hunt, and he's the one who taught me how to swim. And so, yeah, I suppose he would be a family hero. Yeah.
So where'd you swim? You swim in a pool or in a river? Or?
Oh, everywhere. Well, there was a puddle of water. Killbuck Creek was where I learned to swim.
Okay.
And of course they closed it down when I was very young because of polio epidemic,
Oh.
But then after I got a bicycle, I spent half the summer in the athletic pool every summer. Yeah.
Grand old pool. I
Yes,
see
it
where
was.
it's going again.
Yeah, that's a big shame they had to shut it down. I hope they get it fixed.
Well, you did some traveling around town for a young man. You got pretty far afield.
Well, yes. When I got on a bicycle, I walked a long distance too. My grandmother moved out to North Anderson when I was about, 13, 14 years old, and I used to walk out there about 3 or 4 times a week, visit her. And,
You didn't have any brothers and sisters to play with. Did you have some fairly good contingent of neighborhood kids?
Yeah, there were several kids in the neighborhood, but I grew up with an aunt that was only 6 years older than me, so I really didn't need anybody to fight with. I always had somebody.
That's great.
She probably beat you too.
Yes, she was considerably bigger than me. At 6 years older, yeah, she can handle herself.
Now, Central, I don't know very much about Central Junior High. It was right across from Anderson High School, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were 2 schools there, and now you're working on my memory now. I forget what they called the one building, but yes, Central Junior High was north of the high school, across 11th Street, yeah, 11th on the north side of the high school.
Did they have the Main Street School, or the one where the library is now? Was that open at the time? Or?
I don't remember a school where the current library is.
Yeah.
That used to be Sears.
Yeah,
That was a Sears store.
But before that, it was a school. That fellow on the west side of town that told us about going there.
He was older than me.
Okay.
I worked at Sears when I was in high school for a while. Yeah. When it was there on where the library is now.
And you probably remember the little white shack on the corner of the parking area where you had to get a ticket in order to park in the parking lot. Do they have that then?
In the Sears lot?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. I distinctly remember just a small white guard shack that the fellow sat in.
I've seen those guard shacks. No, I was not in prison.
Yeah.
We lived right across the street from Container Corporation.
Okay.
When my dad bought that house when I was, as I said before, about 6 years old. And there used to be an old night watchman that he had been a Container Corporation employee and had lost an arm in one of the machines. So they gave him a watchman's job, and he was a lifetime employee. Matter of fact, his last name was Harmison. He was Otto Harmison.
Okay.
Quite a colorful fellow. He rode a Cushman motor scooter with a sidecar back and forth to work. with one arm.
Wow.
And he rolled his own cigarettes with wheat papers and bagged tobacco, flake tobacco. And he'd get that bag underneath his stub and hold that paper up there and shake the tobacco out in it and lick it and roll it, stick it in his mouth and light it. And
That's quite a trick. That'd be fun to watch.
yeah, it was. Matter of fact, I bummed some cigarettes all over him.
Did you learn how to roll them yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Actually, your dad, if I ever find out about that, took care of it?
Well, yeah, he found out about it. When the winds of war were blowing, and 40, 39, 40, and early 41, my grandfather Springer always smoked Camels. And my dad bought a 1941 Studebaker Champion. And we took a trip out to New Jersey, where my mother was born. My grandfather Springer was from New Jersey, and all of his relatives were still there. So we went out to visit those relatives. The folks knowing that eventually they wouldn't be able to get gas, you know. So we made that trip. And I rode in the back seat between my grandma and my grandpa. And every time Grandpa would light a cigarette, he'd smack me on the knee, and I'd look at him, and he'd point to the floor, and I'd get down on the floor, and he'd hand me a cigarette. And I smoked all the way to New Jersey and all the way back.
And your dad didn't know that?
Oh, I'm sure he did. Yes, I'm sure he did.
But you can't argue with Grandpa, right?
Not very much. They were terribly close anyway.
Yeah.
My dad thought a great deal of my grandpa. They wouldn't have fussed very long.
Well, it sounded like a great family.
We had a good time.
You were, about 10 years old when the war broke out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where you were when you heard about Pearl Harbor? You were pretty young.
No, not exactly. I don't recall where I was when I heard about it. I remember listening to Roosevelt on the radio talking about the next day when he made the radio speech and said December the 7th will go down as a day in infamy.
It does make an impression on you.
Yep.
Oh, did anybody from your family wind up going?
Yeah, I had my youngest aunt, the one that used to beat up on me, had a boyfriend that went in the Army. He was drafted. And ultimately they were married. And I had a cousin, my oldest aunt's daughter's husband. He worked at Lapel Stone Quarry. And he and I were very close too. He used to take me hunting, and we had a good time together. Oliver Wiseman was his name. And anyhow, he had a double hernia, but they took him in the Army anyway, and put him in a supply depot out in Washington State somewhere. I don't know why. He was a clerk, I presume. He surely couldn't lift very much. But he had worked over there in the hernia, he worked over there in the stone quarry and carrying buckets of water to drill holes with, and I'm sure that's what got to him.
Well, that'll wear on you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were the only ones that were in my immediate family that were in the service. My dad and my Uncle Red worked at Guide, and my dad was in the gun barrel department. I don't know what Uncle Red did, but my mother's oldest brother worked for Anaconda. course, wire was a high priority material.
Yeah.
And so, no, we were pretty lucky that neither one of them had to go into service. I had another uncle that worked at Guide who they called for a physical, and he didn't pass the eye exam.
Yeah, I went through that same thing with the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
I'm blind in this eye, so that they figured I could probably shoot something, but they were afraid of what I might shoot. So.
Afraid who might be in the way, huh?
Well, as a kid, do you remember doing anything special during those years, scrap drives or anything to deal with bonds?
Oh yeah, I remember taking dimes to school and buying. They were.
Like the stamps?
Yeah, they were saving stamps. And you could get so many of them. When you got enough of them, you could trade them in for a bond.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember doing that. And of course, as a kid, I collected trash off the dump. And that's how I got my movie money. With scrap iron, and of course most of the time I tried to pick up bottles because they paid pretty good premium. I could get 2 cents for a Coke bottle and 3 cents for a milk bottle, and so having a good morning I can get a movie and popcorn.
Yeah. Where'd you go to the movies?
Either the Times or the Riviera, one or the other.
Okay.
I always tried to get down there on Friday so I could pick up the Hopalong Cassidy and Tom Hicks cereals, and
Probably the Movie Tone News.
Yeah, and I always got that news from the war. They always had that.
Do you remember anything about what you heard about the war and anything kind of stand out in your mind?
Well, not particularly. I know that there was a lot of animosity in my heart about what I heard about how Americans were treated and prisoners of war. Japanese were kind of tough on prisoners.
They were very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough. So let me ask you. All right, you would pick up scrap metal. Where would you turn it in to cash it in?
I took it to Phillips.
Phillips?
Mm-hmm. The only time I ever got refused was one time. Apparently there was a piece of pig iron bounced off a truck, and I picked it up in the street and took it to Phillips, and they wouldn't buy it. They thought I'd stole it from somebody.
Okay.
Still me. Nothing I can do about that.
No. I sure couldn't.
Melted.
No, take it back.
I had melted some lead, but I don't think I can handle pig iron.
That'd be a little much. Now, at Guide, did they make machine guns at Guide?
They made
Grease gun?
They made the little grease gun, and they made that Liberator pistol, which was a little automatic sheet metal pistol that they loaded the magazine and then crimped it all shut, and they could drop that whole thing as a package over France. And I don't know what else they made. I have in my dad's old toolbox a brooch that he made for gun barrels. I'm sure they made some 45s out there, but I don't know how many. And that might have been what those grease guns were. It might have been 45 calibers. I'm not sure.
Very famous weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people actually used them, but I guess they must have, because...
Yeah, there were a lot of them made.
So, do you remember Roosevelt dying?
Yeah, I remember hearing that on the radio as I was on my way home from school one day. And I went home and told my mother, and she said, "Oh, you're kidding. You don't know anything about that." And I said, "Well, I'm not. I heard that on the radio." And I don't know. Somebody had the radio on. I could hear it through the screen door.
Right.
And anyway, she turned on her radio, and then sure enough, it turned out that Roosevelt had died.
Well, that was a shock.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was going to ask you, too, about the radio. I mean, obviously you had a radio in the home.
Yeah, we did at that time.
Remember some of the shows you used to listen to?
Oh, yeah. Well, the very first time I remember listening to radio was in my grandmother's house when we were still living there, and I must have been 3 or 4 years old. My uncles went together and bought a radio, and they would sit there every night that Joe Louis fought, and we would listen to Joe Louis fight on the radio. Yeah. But yeah, when later on in the later 30s, my folks had moved out on East 8th Street, and rented a little house almost straight south of the university.
Okay.
But it was on East 8th Street, and my dad was working nights, and Mom and I would listen to the Shadow, and I always tried to catch Red Skelton and Jack Benny and all of those.
I love Jack Benny.
All those good people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely laughed when you when you listened to Jack Benny. He was funny.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Oh yeah. And 2 more big news items would have been VE Day and VJ Day.
Yeah.
You get any kind of what was the reaction of folks around here?
Well, by then I was approaching my teen years, and
you were that guy in New York in the photograph. Where'd you get the sailor outfit?
There you go. That was a good picture.
That was.
Yeah.
Have anything like that here in Anderson? People dancing?
Not that I recalled, or not that I was involved in.
Yeah.
No.
You were a teenager. You went to Anderson High School. Where was the places to take a date back then?
Oh well, my first date we went to a movie. As I recall, it was the State Theater. The first time I took my wife anywhere. What turned out to be my wife.
Yeah.
But there was a restaurant out on Ohio Avenue, the Rancho Grande Drive-In. You remember that?
I used to work for the guy that ran that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I took my wife out there a few times.
Isn't that where the fur company was there?
Yeah.
The medical place there now. Okay.
Yeah, there was some people from Indianapolis had that fur company. And I guess the very first date that I ever had, I probably went roller skating. Invited some girl from South Anderson that she wanted to go roller skating, and she said yes, and I said okay. So I walked from Sherman Street to North Anderson and asked my mother's permission. She was over at Grandma's, and then I walked from North Anderson back over to Sherman Street and got my roller skates, and then I walked out to 29th and Meridian and met this girl and her mother, and we walked down to 5th Street to the roller rink, and we skated, and then I walked her back out to 29th and Meridian Street, and then I walked home.
Was she worth it?
She's a nice girl. Yeah, a nice girl. Matter of fact, my wife and she are in the same home ec club right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So you got to say nice things about her.
Oh, yeah, and she was a nice girl.
Oh, that's great. Young man puts out that kind of effort. I'll be pretty well respected then. When you were in high school, did you participate in sports or anything like that?
No, I didn't. The only activity that I participated in at all was the High Y Club. Yeah, but no, I liked to fish and I liked to hunt, and I didn't need running around on a court and getting all hot and sweaty. I could do that and then go swimming outside.
Well, tell me a little about the High Y Club. I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Well, I really don't recall all that much about it either. It was just high school age youth boys, and they met at the YMCA and had meetings. That's what people do, you know.
Yeah.
Had meetings. It was a nice bunch of guys. I enjoyed the friendship that I had, but I don't remember anything that they did.
Okay. Made friends. Are you still friends with any of them today? You still?
I don't think any of the guys that I ended up spending a lot of time with were members in that. There were a couple of fellows that I recall, but I spent more time with somebody you might know, John Shettle.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you probably know John.
Oh, yeah.
He and I grew up in the same neighborhood and went to school together from the second grade on.
Okay.
And Howard Dunham, I don't know if you ever knew him or not. He was
That's familiar.
he was an athlete. He played tennis for Anderson High, and he lived in the Riley neighborhood. I met him after I started going to Riley School. And Jim Coleman, he was a wannabe jock. He really wasn't all that good. He played the second string basketball every year. I don't think he ever made the varsity, but he would go out and work at it anyway. And
Like you said, for attitude.
yeah. I still see Howard and John occasionally. Jim has moved. I don't know where he is anymore. He's down around Greenfield somewhere. But
I have a question about the Times Theater. It was gone by the time I came along, or
Yeah.
I don't remember it. I have a rough idea where it was.
it was about 2 doors from the Riviera.
Okay. North or south?
As I recall, it was north.
Okay. Now, I've seen Riviera, been inside the Riviera, been inside Paramount and State. How does the Times compare to those?
It was similar to Riviera. It was just a small, it was a B-movie place.
Okay.
Showed the Westerns, and you could go on Friday and Saturday and get glasses, and, you know, pay admission and get glasses or plates or
Okay.
something, you know.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, they used to do that, didn't
Yeah.
they? Now they don't give you much of anything.
No, it's hard
Give them a
done.
lot.
Yeah.
Was it very ornate, or was it just
No, it's just plain.
pretty much a box? And, okay. Yeah. So you graduated in 39?
50.
50. 50. And when you were in school, did you have any idea what you wanted to do when you got out of school?
Not really. No. I went to work at Guide temporarily
Okay.
and retired 35 years later.
That's a pretty good temporary job. Where'd you do it, guys?
I worked on production most of the time. I upgraded in machine repair, in 1965 or 66,
Okay.
and did not an apprenticeship, but a traineeship. Finally got a journeyman's card.
Okay.
And then I spent about 3 months on salary in development engineering, which I really enjoyed. I was playing with machinery and somebody else was getting their hands dirty.
That's a good combination.
Yeah, but then the oil embargo of '74 came along and I went back to work. But that was okay.
That's probably good. You went to work at Guide. How long were you there before you were called up for service?
Well, I went to work there originally in August of 1950.
Okay.
And I quit in December of 1950 and roamed around.
Okay.
And I came back in November of 1952. And in January of 1953, I went to service.
Well, tell me a little bit about your Roman days. Where'd you go?
Mostly out in the Midwest, out in Iowa.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to see the world, or?
Well, actually, I attended a chiropractic college out there.
Did you now?
Yeah.
Davenport?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Palmer College?
Yep.
I'll be darned. Nice place.
Yeah. And I got in the I got far enough along in the program that I was doing my clinicals, and I had a woman come in the office and she wanted some chiropractic help, and so she came in my little cubicle and she said, "Shall I take my clothes off now?" And I said, "Well, I don't think so." So
An offer.
I decided that probably was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. That was coming on a little strong, and I wasn't quite prepared for it. So
I understand that. Did you know Dr. Palmer? Did you?
I met him, yeah.
What would you tell folks about him?
Oh, he was a weird fella. Oh, yeah. But he looked quite a bit like you, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had white beard and mustache, and he had a lot of ideas. He was a strange fella. Yeah.
That fits
I don't know about that, but he looked like you quite a bit.
Was he a very enthusiastic person?
He was very focused.
Okay.
He wasn't much for levity. He was my acquaintance. I mean, my interaction with him was he was very focused, and of course, him being the person who established the school, he didn't care really too much about me as a student, you know. So I really was not one of his right-hand men or anything like that.
Yeah, he had a little trouble with the law there for a while. Chiropractic wasn't terribly accepted.
No, it
in
wasn't.
some circles. And,
Yeah. Matter of fact, there was a lot of trouble with the law,
yeah.
really. And that's one reason why I decided to get out of it. Because that kind of activity that this gal was presupposing would have gotten anybody in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Sure would.
And of course they were looking for reasons to, the medical doctors were looking for reasons to clamp down on chiropractic anyway, and I thought, well, there's probably better things I could do.
Yeah. How well accepted was it, or how well was it accepted by the general public at that point? I know the doctors would have been after him. They still are.
Yeah, but it was reasonably well accepted. Of course, there were always people that say hokum, you know, voodoo, but people who availed themselves of those services, most generally were reasonably satisfied. Chiropractor when I was a teenager.
Okay.
And,
Who did you go to at the time?
my dad knew a fellow in Fortville by the name of McAtee.
McAtee.
And we went down there and knew him. He was pretty good. He made you feel better.
Yeah. Well, I certainly didn't expect to wind up in Palmer College in this interview. That's interesting. Yeah, we got some connection with it. I'll
Oh, do
share
you?
that with you sometime. But from you decided chiropractic was not the thing for you,
So I came back to guiding.
so you came back to guide.
And then it was toward the end of the Korean War.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I don't remember the exact dates now, but I came back here in September, November. Came back here in November of '52, and shortly after I got back here, I went up to the post office and went up to the Selective Service Board, and I said, you know, where am I on your list? And because I knew I ought to be ripe. All of my high school friends were already in the service.
Right.
And the guy says, what's your name? And I said, George Whittaker. And he says, let me look through some stuff here. And he got to going through the out mail, and he says, does this look familiar? It had my name on it. Oh, I said, just hang on to that for a few minutes, and I went next door and enlisted in the Air Force.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah.
Pretty good move. Boy, I've never met anybody that had his personal greetings from the president handed to him. Wow. There's a couple that they came and got him, but that was a different war.
Yeah.
So you joined. Do you happen to remember a clerk at the post office? Black hair, parted it in the middle and combed it back. Little bit of a mustache, maybe.
No.
Yeah, that was my dad. My dad worked there.
Is that right?
Yeah, I just wondered maybe you might have run across him.
Well, I might have sometime, but I'm sure if I saw him, I would have thought it looked like my dad because he had dark hair and parted his hair in the middle, and had a little black mustache.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got all kinds of things in common here. When I was a kid, I played in the dumps. So.
Did you?
Yeah.
Here in Anderson?
Old Doc Armington's dump is where the vocational school is.
Oh,
That was a
okay.
dump at one time.
Yeah.
And they messed it up and
Put
put it into vocational.
a school on it.
Useless place. It was fun to play in the dump.
Yeah.
So you joined the Air Force, and take me down the path there. You went, obviously you left that office,
Yeah.
and went down to Indianapolis, or
Yeah, that's where I was sworn in Indianapolis.
you got your physical there in Indianapolis?
Yeah. Yeah. What there was of it, cough and can you see the light? And, did you hear that? Yeah.
You're in.
But yeah, that was about all the physical there was to it, really.
Okay.
Of course, I had a gimpy leg at that time, and I limped right through, so no problem.
Gee.
And then, that was right before Christmas when I took my physical, and they had me come back January 1st and swore me in and put me on a bus.
Okay. Where'd you actually go for the swearing in?
Indianapolis.
I mean, where, at Fort Harrison?
I don't remember.
Down in an office somewhere?
Someplace I didn't like.
All right, okay. The AP Center.
I figured out right away that it was the wrong thing to do, but it was too late.
And they put you on a bus. Here you joined the Air Force, and they put you on a bus.
Yeah, took me to Indianapolis and then put me on a train. And the train went to San Antonio, Texas.
Took the train, the Air Force put you on a train. Well, that had to build your confidence up, and they didn't even trust the planes to get you there.
The only time I was ever in an airplane was between San Antonio and Denver, Colorado.
Oh my.
Went through basic and what's the name of that, Lackland?
Lackland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And took my basic there, and they flew a plane load of us, to Offutt. No, Lowry in Denver. And that was my first real interesting experience in the military. When I was in basic, I really was not impressed. But they put us on this airplane that was, I don't know what kind it was, but it was all stripped out inside. It had metal seats and no carpet on the floor, and it was something that they could hose down. And I've always been able to sleep. I've got a real clear conscience.
Even with all those door tricks?
Even with all the honours I got in when I was a kid. So, and I enjoyed flying. I had been up in the air a couple of times previous to my joining the service. Once, a couple of times with one of my mother's cousins who had a small plane. And then I alluded to that visit we made to New Jersey, and one of my mother's cousins out there arranged for me to take an airplane ride with a discharged combat pilot who has an Army Air Corps training plane, a two-seater open cockpit.
Okay.
And he took me up and put me through the works with that. I mean, the rolls and the chandelles and the loops and the whole 9 yards. And I really loved it. So, I was not afraid of the airplanes.
Is that what kind of led you toward the Air Force?
Yeah,
okay.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah. But I knew that I was not going to be able to fly because I knew I could never make the school with that bad leg. But I thought perhaps I could get on a bomber as a gunner or something. That's why I had picked the Air Force. And I knew I didn't want to march. So anyway, we got on this airplane headed for Omaha or Denver. And immediately I went to sleep, sitting on a plane. And the next thing I know, there's a kid sitting next to me, elbowing me, and I said, what's the matter? He said, are you sick? And I said, no, I'm not sick. Why? And he says, well, everybody else on the plane is. And they were, the airplane smelled to high heaven. They were all sick, but all but me.
Didn't bother you at all?
Didn't bother me at all. So anyway, that was my only flight in the Air Force. Yeah.
That was it. Well, what about basic itself? I mean, was it pretty tough or easy, or
it was.
Describe that one.
It was. There was not much to it, really. We had a TI that was. I'm not going to use words. And he wasn't a very nice fella, and I didn't care for him at all, and I don't think anybody else did. But as far as what we had to do, the marching wasn't all that bad, and the calisthenics weren't all that bad. And I was there in the winter time, so the temperature wasn't all that bad. It was kind of silly. They would get us out in the morning, and we'd have ice on the inside of the barracks windows, and we had to go out with field jackets and gloves and all that stuff on, and then we had to leave them on all day until lunchtime, and we'd come back and take it off and take them to the barracks. Every place you went, you had to leave that stuff on. And then in the afternoon, you got a chance to get a little bit of air, but it wasn't all that bad. The one thing that I really enjoyed about basic, and this might sound strange to you, but they had a super excellent mathematics course when I went through basic. And I learned more about algebra and geometry in basic training than I had learned in 12 years of school.
I'll be darned.
And basic training was only 13 weeks. And I think there was only about 4 weeks of math.
Wow.
It was good.
That says a lot.
And I wish that I had the textbook and the teacher's manual for that. I would love to be able to tutor high school kids in that, but I couldn't do it with their books.
Well, my daughter could have used a course in that.
Yeah.
Kept telling her, go to the military first, get it paid for.
Yeah. Well, that was a good course. Very well worth it. So then
Go ahead. Sorry.
So then I went to Lowry and went to tech school up there.
Studying what? I mean, what were you?
Well, I think I probably told you before that when I took all these aptitude tests in basic training, they said, well, you can do this or do this or do this or do that or do that, and I was really not. I had lots of options that I could have gone into. And I said, well, I'd like to go to gunnery school. I said, gunnery school? I said, yeah, I'd like to be a gunner on one of the bombers. And they said, well, no, you can't do that. Why not? Well, they've just changed all the bombers to radar fire control, and you have to go to OCS first. Become a navigator. And I said, I'm not going in for that. So I said, what else we got? And they started going down this list of things that I was eligible to go to. And I said, well, they got down to Air Force intelligence, and I could see myself in a trench coat, you know, and a fedora and all that fancy stuff, you know. And I said, well, we'll take that. And it turned out that I was in a photo interpretation specialist. I flew a desk for.
Well, that'd be interesting work.
Yeah.
That'd be great work.
Yeah, I saw most of Europe from the air, from the desk and at SAC headquarters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still at Lowry, or did you move on to?
I went from Lowry, where the tech school was, to Omaha, Offutt Air Force Base.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's where SAC headquarters was. Still is, I think.
Yeah. To the degree that you were allowed to describe SAC headquarters, it has to be an interesting place.
Yeah, I was only in the headquarters building about 4 or 5 times. My office actually was in one of the modification hangars. That Air Force Base originally was an aircraft factory.
Okay.
And this hangar that we worked in was across the base from SAC headquarters. But I had the courier a few times taking classified information that we had taken over SAC headquarters and signing it in and then coming back. So I really was never in headquarters much further than the guard post.
Okay.
And the office that received this material.
Or did you handcuff it to yourself? I mean, what was it?
No, it was just in a briefcase.
Just a briefcase?
Yeah.
Okay.
They took me over there in an automobile, and I went from the automobile into SAC headquarters carrying it, and went back out and got in the automobile, and they took me back home.
Okay.
We had one time I was had a couple of interesting things happen while I was in Omaha. One time I had a bunch of prisoners. It was a guarding, and they were picking up trash along the edge of the modification hangar set up here kind of on a hill, and then we went down probably 20 steps down into the parking lot, and that's where we people who lived off base would park. And we had a bunch of guys from Silver City that had been in town and screwed up, and So they wanted the place policed up. So they gave me half a dozen of these guys and a carbine, and they said, go out there.
Did they give you any bullets or just a carbine?
I don't remember.
35 to give you one bullet.
Well, anyway, while I was out there with these guys, I was sitting on the top step of these stairs that led down there, and they were down below picking stuff up. And I heard this plane taking off, and it was roaring. I mean, he had that thing throttled up to the max, and he wasn't going anywhere. And I looked over there, and here he is, and it's a hospital plane. It's got a big red cross on the tail. And I don't know what he was loaded with. Seriously, I have no idea what he had. But he went clear to the end of that runway. And at the end of the runway, there's the Mississippi River.
Ooh.
And that thing went out there and disappeared down below the tree line. And I thought, oh my God, that's going to hear an explosion and see a fireball, you know. And all of a sudden, the engines revved up again. And here he come up out of that thing, and I don't know how in the world he ever did it, but
Wow.
I'm awfully glad he did. Another time they had me, I was working with classified material all the time. I did not have one of those DBR classifications, not that destroy before reading. I didn't have one of those. But I was classified for top secret stuff, and we had a lot of it come in. And every once in a while we had to clean the library out and burn the stuff. Obsolete information.
Right.
And so it fell upon me one day to go out there and burn classified trash, and I had a couple of privates went out with me, and they let me go out with a 38 to guard this stuff. Well, out at the incinerator, there was like 2 rooms of screen. There was an outer screen room that was covered across the top and had a gate on it. And you go inside, and there was another screen room with a gate on it. And that's where you burnt the stuff. Well, that kept all of the ash from getting out. You know, they wanted to take it in there and close all these gates before you ever lit the fire. So anyway, these guys are in there burning this stuff, and I'm laying on the ground looking at the clouds. And I heard somebody walking up, and it was the officer of the day. And I got up, and he said, "Your name Whittaker?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm watching for enemy aircraft." And he said, "Carry on." So,
I was going to ask if your dad spanked you when you got home. Making sure none of the ash gets into the Russian English. I'm watching. Did you see any enemy aircraft?
not that day.
Hey, by golly, you kept that place pretty well protected, didn't you?
I had seen pictures of it, but
You were
so
on one.
I knew what I was looking for.
Well, to the extent that you can tell me, what kinds of things did you actually see in these photographs?
Oh, we saw, at that time, we saw rockets on flat cars. We saw power plants. We saw airfield installations. We saw all kinds of military stuff. I told you power plants. But that's what we were mainly interested in, was power plants and military installations. And we were looking for portable artillery and that kind of stuff.
Power plants as targets, or
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if maybe a new power plant might mean some kind of a build-up on their part. Or,
No, we were targeting strategic targets.
Now, at the time, would it have been bombers that we were relying on more so than missiles?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you had those regular SAC drills where you'd have the planes up for, I don't know, what, 24 hours or so? And,
Somebody else did that.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Did they run those out of Offutt, or, I mean?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Now, as far as I know, I never knew them to run any bombers. Well, Offutt was too small a field, really, to handle very much of the large stuff.
Okay.
Now, there were a couple of times that there were B-47s came in there, but they were humongous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they weren't there all the time. Most of the aircraft there were training aircraft so that the officers could keep their hours up.
Okay.
Most of them were T-33s, little two-seat jet trainers, and they just go up in the afternoon and play around and
A bit of joyride, just keep the hours up.
yeah.
How did you actually get the photographs? They didn't have satellites then. It was what, just high-flying airplanes?
Yeah, they were.
Was it? Did they have B-2?
Well, they had developed the B-52, but I don't think they were using them yet when I was doing that.
Okay.
But they might have been. B-47s, they were flying still, and they had cameras in them. And I suppose that I can tell this now because they certainly have more sophisticated stuff. But back then they had 100-inch photo length
Wow.
cameras. And they were getting pretty sharp pictures of Russia and China and Korea and wherever they wanted to go.
I'm having a hard time picturing a plane actually overflying Russia because it's so vast and being able to get back out again.
They'd get off the shore and take an oblique
Okay.
and get Vladivostok and all up and down the coast there and then over Germany and take in that way.
Anything internal and anything deep in Russia would probably be out of range.
We didn't see that until we started sending up the weather balloons.
Okay.
And Francis Gary Powers. We got some of that stuff. But that was about the time I got out.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the offices that I had been working out of was commandeered to move Francis Gary Powers U-2 photography into.
Okay.
And I didn't see any of that. I saw some of the weather balloon stuff, and it was terrible. It was practically worthless, really.
Really?
Yeah, because those things would get up in the air and then they would just gyrate, you know.
Yeah.
The balloon would hold it up here and the wind would blow the gondola around. But they were kind of interesting because it was in a humongous basket with these big, long focal length cameras in there. And they were packed around there with these little canisters of gel like we now use in our coolers.
Okay. Yeah.
And they put it in there warm, and then that stuff would freeze and insulate the cameras.
Huh.
That's how they got the cameras to work.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard anything along that line.
Yeah. Oh, it's a military secret.
Oh, yeah.
Strike that out.
Okay.
Let them come get me.
But I don't think they use the balloons anymore.
No, I don't think so.
How did the film actually get to you? I mean, where they fly it to a hangar and somebody would just motor it over to you?
Yeah, courier. I don't know where it came in. I presume that they, whatever air base that was landed at, and the cameras were unloaded at, they probably sent that into us on a smaller military airplane, and then was taken to SAC headquarters, I'm sure, and then they would send a courier over to us, and our lab would develop the photography and then do whatever it is we needed to do with it, make maps or target overlays or whatever.
Did you get to see any of the YouTube footage?
No. No, I never did. I knew it was going on, but as I said, they commandeered our area, and they had moved me out of there because they knew I was a short timer, and they tried to get me a real mess, but I decided opted out of that.
Decided not to, huh?
Yeah.
Couldn't be a tail gunner, so you decided that was it.
No, they wanted to send me to NCO school, and I thought I'd had enough school. I knew all about those NCOs by then.
So you were at Lowry, you were at Offutt, were you on any other bases?
3 of them, Lackland, Lowry, and Offutt. Homesteaded, yeah. I homesteaded at Offutt.
Oh, you homesteaded, okay. Homesteaded?
Yeah.
That was your home, huh?
Yeah. After I got transferred, my wife joined me while I was in Denver.
Okay.
And then I was transferred to Offutt. I was supposed to sign in on base on July the 4th, and Kurt LeMay was having a sports car race on the airfield. I went in out there and they had bales of straw stacked everywhere, and had all these little cars buzzing around, these little MGs and Triumphs and all that stuff.
So what did you think of Curtis LeMay?
Oh, I tried to ignore him. I didn't want to get too close to him.
Yeah. Well, he seemed like a real hard case tough fellow.
I think so. I never met him, but I didn't want to. Yeah. I had enough trouble with the second lieutenants on our base without worrying about Uncle Kurt.
Now, did you have fellows that you worked with on a regular basis?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked in an office. We had, while I was there, we had 2 different, in my section, 2 different squadron commanders. Both of them, both of them were colonels. And both of them were fairly nice guys. One of them was a really nice fellow. He was ready to go home. He was ready to retire, and he was easy. He didn't. I mean, you had to really mess up to get him aggravated.
You remember his name?
No, I don't. I've got a set of orders in there with his name on them, but I don't remember his name. No, I don't remember any of those guys.
Did you have any fellows that you were particularly close to in the service?
Yeah, there were 3 of them, as a matter of fact. Bill Everett and Zeke Torzewski and David Spees. And David Spees, I think, is dead now. He had what's this? Is a disease where you get trembling first.
Parkinson's?
Parkinson's disease. He got Parkinson's disease. Bill Everett had a son, and he got discharged and disappeared. He saw the Vietnam War coming, and he was so bitter about the Korean War that I'm sure he ended up in Canada. Zeke and I have tried to get in touch with him different times, but I still see Zeke every once in a while. Matter of fact, for several years we've tried to meet once a year somewhere halfway between here and where he lives in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Good old Polish Catholic boy.
Yeah. Got the sound of it.
Yeah.
What would you tell us about the other fellows there, and what were they like?
Oh, well, David Spees was a fellow about my size, and his ambition, he had gone to college to be a geologist, and his ambition was to be on the front page of U.S. News and World Report.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what he always said. Not that I know of. But he really wanted to discover the mother lode of oil. That's what he was after. And Bill Everett was a big fellow. His outstanding physical characteristic was he had a badly pockmarked face.
Yeah.
And he was a lot of fun. We played pinochle at lunchtime, the three of us and another fellow named Hugo Euland. Played pinochle about every day. And so anyway, one day we were playing pinochle, and Bill Everett said, "Would you and your wife like to come over in our house this evening and play some cards?" And I said, "Sure, we'll come over." So Pat was her name, and so we went over there, and Bill had gotten some sweet rolls, and we played some cards for a while, and he said, "Patty, let's get out the refreshments." So she put some coffee on, and he got into this box of sweet rolls, and he said to my wife, he offered her one of these things. He said, "Would you like a roll?" And of course, it was the first time she'd ever met him. And she looked at him kind of funny. He said, "I mean a hot roll." And we had a good laugh out of that, and that was an icebreaker. We visited back and forth quite a bit with the Everts.
That's funny. Well, he just got deeper and deeper.
Yes, he did. And Zeke married a girl from Omaha while we were there. And he got discharged. Both these guys had been in Korea and they got discharged before I did. They had been overseas and back, and they had been in service probably 16, 18 months longer than I was.
Did they tell you very much about Korea and what you saw over there?
They didn't like it. No, they didn't talk too much about it. They were pretty bitter, really, about their military experience.
What was the bitterness? I mean, the way the Americans were handling things?
Well, the way they had to deal with the military.
Okay.
Apparently they were not satisfied with what they were getting and what they needed to get to do their job, and the manpower that they had to do their job with. And of course, I didn't question them too much. Because why question a bitter person?
That's a good point.
Yeah. You never hear anything good when somebody's. David Spees says, "I'm going to write a book when I get out, and I'm going to call it the United States Air Force, the cesspool." I don't, Anyway, Zeke married this girl from Omaha, and her name's Alice, and they live at Stevens Point, Wisconsin. His dad was a cheesemaker. He had a little cheese factory in Wisconsin. And we started visiting up there with them when our kids were teenagers, and take a vacation and go up there. stop and visit them on the way, going somewhere where, you know. And then they had 2 boys and 2 girls. So we went up one time when one of their daughters took her first communion. And does that mean I'm done?
No, go ahead.
And then their 2 sons came down here one time and stayed at our house, and I took them down to Brown County Park, and we camped down there.
So, good friendship.
Yeah. And then another fellow, Hugo Euland, was from Long Island, New York, far away. And he married a girl named Vera, and they had 1 son, and I forget what his name is. But he started going to college while we were in the service. He had taken some courses. And after he got discharged, he went to medical school. And then he divorced Vera and disappeared. And I don't know where he went. And last I heard, he was out west somewhere. We communicated with Vera through cards and at holidays for a long, long time, but then she quit writing back. She remarried, and so Zeke is the only one of the guys that I was close with, that I'm still in touch with.
In the break here, we were talking about aviation fuel.
Yeah.
Coffee that you drank. What kind of shifts did you work? Did you regular 8-hour day? Was it
Normally,
days at a time?
Normally it was an 8-hour day, but every once in a while we would get in something that was a high priority, and they would put us on shifts, and it would be a 24-hour job. Some of us worked 6 hours, 8 hours, and some of us worked 12, and they would kind of rotate things around. But there were not very many of those. Most of it was 8-hour days.
Okay.
And half a day Saturday. Always Class A uniforms on Saturday.
Yeah.
Always Class A uniforms in the office. I hated that.
Yeah, you couldn't actually relax much, could you?
No. We had one of the fun things that happened to me. We had a real nice young lady come in our squadron named Sylvia Glazier. She was a first lieutenant. I don't know where she was from for sure, but I always suspected she was from New York. And she was very prim and proper. I mean, her hair was just plastered back against her head, you know, and always in that little military bun, and spotless in her demeanor and her presentation. And pretty nice for a girl.
You mean for a soldier?
For a soldier, yeah. So, one day I was in the process of mounting some photographs, and we used rubber cement to mount that stuff. And of course, rubber cement, it gets pretty gummy, you know.
Yeah.
When you're working with it, you can have a lot of fun with it. So I walked over to Lieutenant Glazier with a photo or with a report in my hand.
Yeah.
And I said, "Excuse me, Lieutenant," and she turned around and I opened my hand like that and then strung that rubber cement out. Oh, she turned red, and then she had to laugh. She knew she'd been had.
Well, what kind of equipment did you work with?
We worked at drafting tables.
Okay.
We had a regular set of tools that were designed for that. We had proportional dividers. Are you familiar with those? I ended up with the points of one of those in the bone there one time. I was putting the things up on a drafting table to go to lunch, and had the long point in my hand, and the short point hit the edge of that drafting table and stuck, and my hand kept going. Oh, and I felt that hit the bone, and it just made your guts wrench, you know. Anyway, we had a slide rule that was set up for altitude and photo length and all that kind of stuff. Weems plotters, you familiar with a Weems plotter? It's a plotting instrument that you use for plotting the position on a map.
Okay.
Parallel, what do they call parallel rules? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, there's two rules that had length between them, and a handle on. You could start out with a line here, go like that, and then take that line straight out. And
Okay.
That was some of the stuff that we worked with.
Fun toys now.
Oh yeah. They were pretty handy.
Oh, except for that samurai sword.
Yeah, that was an ouch.
Good Purple Heart for that?
No, I went over and got a shot though. Too bad it wasn't Southern Comfort. This is something else that burnt.
So you mentioned your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a good time to bring her into this. First of all, what was your name?
Barbara.
Barbara?
Mhm.
And maiden name?
Stottlemyre.
Stottlemyre. Barbara Stottlemyre. And where did you meet her?
Well, you'll never believe this. The first time I ever saw her, I was hunting fishing worms.
Well, that's romantic.
And she lived out here on Ridge Road.
Okay. So she with the Stottlemyre Lumber Company?
No, that was her uncle.
Okay.
One of her dad's brothers. I'm one of her dad's brothers. It was her dad's, one of her dad's older brothers.
Okay.
Not one of her dad's, but one of his brothers.
Okay.
Anyhow, my dad and I were planning a vacation. I mean, my dad was planning a vacation and I was going. We were going to go fishing. And we had heard about a fella out here somewhere that had a redworm bed and sold fish worms. So Dad drove out here and I was riding with him. And when we got here, Barbara was up on top of the hill and beside their house and had a little kid in her arms. And as it turned out, she was 14 years old, and this little kid was her baby sister. And then that fall, I met her in school. But we had gone out there to hunt fishing worms.
Did she remember that part?
No, she didn't remember that. I'm easy to forget.
Your first date, you went out to the Rancho Grande, or?
Well, that was one of the dates. Our first date, we went to a movie. Yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out that this is the one?
Oh, not too long. We went together. Of course, we were both too young to go steady. Our parents wouldn't let her go steady, but we kept pretty exclusive company for, I don't know, we were probably 17 and a half or 18 when we finally decided that this probably ought to be permanent.
That's pretty young yet.
Yeah.
It'll never last.
No, it'll never last.
How long's it been now?
Oh, it's just overnight, 54 years.
54 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, would you believe this guy didn't want to do an interview last Friday, because it was his wedding anniversary? Oh, wow. Some guys just have no sense of priority. So I thought, well, maybe we ought to do it another night.
Well, you could have done the interview, but you had to come to Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think we're all right here.
We're okay. Now we've interviewed people in Ohio, so we've got that state already covered. So when you proposed to her, was it a real flowery proposal?
No, it was just,
Married?
no, it was just, we had been to a wedding of one of her cousins, and about the next weekend, I said, I picked her up, and I said, let's take a ride, and she said, okay. So we got in my jalopy and drove around, and ended up down in Fortville and in front of the jewelry store, and I just parked, and we went in, and I said, you see anything there you like?
See what you like?
And your heart dropped when she picked out a bracelet.
I think I kind of guided her toward the rings. So there wasn't any getting down on your knee or any of that stuff.
None of that. Oh, man.
Now her dad threw a fit when we said we'd like to get married. He didn't care for me.
I don't think any dads do.
Yeah.
Did you ever get over it? Or?
Not really.
Okay.
No, I think the one good thing that came out of that was I learned how to relate to my son-in-laws. Because I always treated them like they were people.
That's good.
Even though they weren't.
Well, one of them is a super guy, and the other one is okay. He's treating my daughter right, so
Yeah, that's what counts.
that's what counts.
That's what counts.
And we need some names then.
You have, where'd you actually get married?
Whetstone Church.
Okay.
She was raised in that church. That Whetstone, Jonas Whetstone, was her great uncle.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
No kidding.
And her dad, Barbara's dad, was a part-time preacher, and so he married us.
Oh.
Ah, now I know where the name of the church came from, too. I didn't even know that.
Yep. Well, the Whetstone family is part of their heritage. I don't know exactly. They called him Uncle Junie, though I presume he was a great uncle somewhere.
Yeah. Son of a gun. Well, that's interesting information. I love this because I learned so many things about my town that I only had a little piece of or didn't know at all.
Well, I always tell everybody that all these families out in here are all inbred. They're the south side of town.
Probably so. Heavily related.
Yep.
And you have children. You have 2 daughters?
2 daughters and a son.
2 daughters and a son. Names and a little something about each one.
Ginger Joanne, my firstborn, was born on my 23rd birthday in Omaha, Nebraska. And she graduated from Ball State University with what's that first honors, cum laude, is that what it is? Yeah. She is a certified professional secretary. She worked for the factory manager at Guide. She worked for the president and CEO at St. John's Hospital.
Okay.
She worked for the CEO at Guidant Corporation. She is now working for she is the executive secretary to the CEO. Another drug company. It's a company out of
Roche or
no, it's it was an offspring, an offshoot of Lilly. It's a company whose office is in San Diego, California.
oh, okay.
But her boss, who is the president and CEO of the company, lives in Boulder, outside of Boulder, Colorado. So my daughter lives out at Longmont, Colorado right now. But she commutes back and forth between San Diego and Boulder and New York and anywhere else the boss wants to go. That she has two sons. One of them is a career Air National Guard. He's a staff sergeant and is stationed at Fort Wayne.
Okay.
Unmarried, but he's got a terrible dog. Her oldest son is, his name is Tony. His name's Anthony, but everybody calls him Tony. He's married. He just left the University of Illinois with a PhD, going to a laboratory on Long Island somewhere. That's a government lab. That takes care of Ginger.
Except her husband.
Her husband's name is Mark Bollinger. He has a master's degree in business administration. He was the superintendent of maintenance at Greenfield Community Schools until she took this job in Colorado. And now he's out there, he's entrepreneuring. He's doing this and that and whatever else comes along. But he seems to be doing well. She is our oldest. Brian is our son. He's 18 months younger than Ginger. Brian is he and the bank own the Worley Monument Factory in Muncie.
Oh, okay.
And he is one of the largest manufacturing monument retail companies in the country. He does all the work there at the factory in Muncie, but he's got, 25 or 30 branches throughout Indiana and Ohio, and I think some in Michigan. And he's married to Barbara Eckel from Indianapolis. She's Barbara Whittaker now. Matter of fact, she has the same initial as my wife,
Okay.
which made it very confusing when they were both still working for the school system. The bank didn't like it when Barbara Whittaker would come in and try to cash a check when they knew that Barbara Whittaker was 60 years old. Anyway, they have two sons, Tyler, who was just graduated from high school last year, and he's enrolled in, year before last. He took one semester off, and then he started Ball State at Christmas time last year. So he's back at Ball State this fall. And Ian, who is, I think he's a junior at Highland. Both of them were wrestlers. Barbie, Brian's wife, is a special ed teacher at Anderson Community Schools. She's going to be in the new school that they built out north. What's the name of that?
East side.
East Side, yeah, East Side Middle School. East Side Middle School, yeah. And our youngest daughter is Brenda. She's the one that's diabetic. And has been since she was 11. She's our free spirit. She's lived many, many places, but is now currently working for her brother over in Muncie, and seems to have been settled down. And she's married to a fellow named Joseph Ramsey, whose home was Muncie. And they have no children, and Brenda probably will never have any because of her health condition. But they all have dogs.
That would be kind of a tough thing to go through, having a child that was diagnosed as diabetic.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to take, hard to deal with. You have all of these things that teenagers want to do, and that diabetes cramps their style. And she was in and out of the hospital about every year, and usually over her birthday time. And of course, they miss all of the ice cream and soda pop and dates, eating out and all that kind of stuff. But I tried to help her out as much as I could. We took a vacation down to Jekyll Island one time, and I went into a store on Jekyll Island, and I said, how would you like to have an ice cream cone? She said, no, I don't think so. And I said, okay. Would it bother you if I had one? No, it's okay. So I went in and got an ice cream cone. And she said, we got outside of the store, and she sat down on a bench, and she said, let me have a look at that. And I said, okay. And I just smacked her in the middle of the head. And she looked at me kind of funny, but then she got a look at the ice cream cone.
How old was she when you discovered it?
11.
And how did you wind up discovering it?
Well, she just kept getting more and more cantankerous all the time, and her bad attitude changed, and then we finally saw the signs of frequent urination and constant thirst, and so we took her to the doctor and find out what was going on. Found out she was diabetic.
Is she on insulin?
Yeah, has been ever since. Yeah.
So who gave the shots? Did she give it to herself?
She does it herself.
That really does something to you when you see one of your children doing that. I mean, you hate to see it, and yet there's a sense of pride there that, wow, really.
Yeah, she's really taking care of it. And, she's, well, let's see, 1964. So she's 40 years old, 41 years old, and has lived with diabetes for over 30 years. She's doing okay. She's taking care of herself.
That's great. Now, I've got two camera operators. They're both diabetic. They both have sleep apnea. Understand health problems. We're very sympathetic toward those sorts of things. So you were discharged out of Offutt?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And from there you headed home?
Yep, came
back to Anderson?
Yeah, came back to Anderson, went back to Guide.
Okay.
My dad and I, when I was a teenager, we built what would amount to a 3-car garage out of cement block, and then put an apartment up above it. And after I came back from the service, well, matter of fact, before I joined the service, he and I finished it up upstairs and made it livable. Turned on utilities and all that stuff. when I came back from the service, mom and dad moved into the apartment and we moved into their house.
Oh, really?
Because I had 2 kids then.
Yeah.
So we lived on Sherman Street until 58, and then we had an opportunity. Barbara's dad inherited a piece of property over on Ridge Road,
Okay.
and we bought it from him. And that was our first house. It was, well, you might know where it is. It's a little green house. It sits on the northeast corner of Ridge Road and 38th Street.
Sure do.
Yeah.
Sure do. I grew up on Brown Street.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I lived on that quarter-acre there for
Okay.
20 years.
Yeah.
And then we moved, our youngest daughter was born while we lived there. And our oldest daughter was married while we lived there.
Okay.
And our son got married the first time while we lived there. And then we moved from there over to Meadowbrook on 37th Street.
Okay.
And
Whereabouts on 37?
37th and Haverhill, 130, West 37th.
That's my old stomping grounds.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you've been chasing me around, haven't you?
I have been. I have been.
Brenda came home from college, and I said, gosh. She said, what's the matter? I said, well, when you left and went to Muncie, we moved over here, and I didn't tell you where we were going, and I didn't think you'd ever find us. Oh, that got her goat. She didn't care much for that.
Oops. That's funny. Do you remember Wilson's Pharmacy on 29th Street?
No.
Yeah, 29th, just right across from Southside School. Well, kind of a bluish building.
Well, I know where the building is, yeah, but I don't remember the pharmacy in there. I was out here on 38th Street.
Okay.
We had the Hagg's drugstore there on Main,
Yeah, yeah.
and Citizens Bank, and what was the name of the hardware store that was in there?
Baldwin's?
Baldwin's Hardware.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I used to ride my bicycle down there to the what, Hoosier Market or.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Mom would send me down. I'd get a loaf of bread usually, and I sit there and I wrap it around my handlebars, and it was a mess by the time I got home. Let's see, we've been through the kids and all.
Oh yeah. Well, we didn't get to the ice cream store down there though, on the corner of 38th and Main.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
And I forget that guy's name too, that used to run that place. But he had a real nice ice cream store in there.
Yeah. Boy, I'd forgotten all about that. Luce's Texaco. Been there forever.
Yep.
When did you actually move to 37th Street?
That would have been, 78.
78, huh? Yeah, that was after my Wilson's Pharmacy days.
Yeah.
When I was younger, one of my jobs was my dad printed up the handbills for Wilson's Pharmacy. And my brother and I went out and delivered them all over town. And that would have been one of our neighborhoods.
Yeah, I came back from the service and lived in Dad's house until 88 or 78. Come on, George. 58. And in 58, I bought the house on Ridge Road, on 38th and Ridge Road.
Okay.
And I lived there 20 years, 58 to 78. And then in 78, I bought the house in Meadowbrook, and I lived there 10 years, 78 to 88. And I bought this house in 88. And I lived there till 2008, and then I'm either going to die or move.
No point having your life planned. Now, your kids probably went to Madison Heights, didn't
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Any of them graduated around 1963, maybe? That time frame?
No, let's see.
Trying to place it.
64.
No, I would have been about 70 or so.
Yeah,
Late 60s, early 70s.
64 and 8 was be 72.
Okay,
That would have been Junior.
all right.
Brian's 73, and Brenda 78,
Okay,
I think.
just youngsters.
Yeah.
My brother graduated in 63 and I graduated in 69, so.
Yeah,
I ran across,
Junior's just 50 years old, and
Yeah.
Brian will be 50 years old next spring. And Brenda's just a kid.
so you, I was going to ask you. You retired from Guide when?
85.
85?
Mhm.
Okay. Not a bad time to retire.
No?
Yeah. And I'm curious, is there anything in your life you never quite got around to doing that you wish you could have done?
Yeah, there's several things. I never got rich. I would really have loved to have done some whitewater rafting.
Ah,
I've ridden motorcycles and I've flown airplanes,
okay.
and I've driven semi-trucks and cattle trucks and school buses, but I've never whitewater rafted. And I've always thought I would like to do that, but I probably won't now. I might yet, but
You have your back acting up on you. That's probably not the best thing to do. But
and they don't like for you to pull too much when you got a bad heart. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get along with my wife just fine. She likes that sort of thing.
I was always kind of an outdoors type, not really a jock, but I like being outdoors.
Hey, you could probably do a canoe trip down White River.
Oh, I can probably do that if somebody else would paddle. I took the Boy Scouts on a 50-mile canoe trip twice.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Wisconsin.
Okay.
Up in Region 7.
Yeah, at Region 7.
You familiar with Region 7?
Yeah, I got my 50-miler at Region 7.
Yeah.
So you were a scoutmaster.
Yeah, we did 2 of them. We did 2 50-mile hikes in Michigan, along the, what's the name of that river, about halfway up the state, runs across there. Oh, gosh. I'm having a senior moment.
There's Grand River, there's,
No, this is a little bitty trout stream runs across there.
I try to avoid Michigan as much as possible. That's where most of my problems come from.
Oh. East Tawa is one of the cities up there that runs into out on the coast,
Okay.
out on the east coast of Michigan. Anyway, there's a national forest runs up there, and we took 2 50-mile hikes along that river, and then we took 2 50-mile canoe trips at Region 7. Enjoyed it.
You ever go to a jamboree?
Never did.
My son went to Jamboree.
Never.
Always wanted to, never.
He loved it.
I never went to a jamboree.
Yeah. Where was the troop based out of?
Whetstone Church.
Whetstone Church.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Now, modes of transportation, motorcycle. When did you have the motorcycle?
That would have been in about 79, 80, in that time frame.
Started going back and forth to work, or just,
Yeah, well, I rode it around here quite a bit, but, yeah, I rode it back and forth to work. It was a little Honda 500 4-cylinder, a 4-stroke,
yeah.
and, quiet, nice little bike. I think the furthest I ever rode it was Barbara and I rode it up in Mississippi a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I used to ride it around and back and forth to work. It was fun.
And semi?
Duke's over here. I had bought a custom van from Trent Stevenson when Duke's was over here on the highway. And I was over there one day getting a service, and he was busy around. I said, well, what's going on, Trent? He says, oh, I'm trying to get drivers. I said, trying to get drivers for what? He says, oh, I got a half a dozen cabs, tractors I have to deliver to Indianapolis. But I don't have enough drivers. And I said, well, do you have to have a special license to drive them? No, not just taking them around. I said, well, I've never driven a tractor in my life, but I've driven everything else, so you show me how to mash the gears and that rascal, I'll take it down there for you. He said, you will? I said, sure. So he says, I'll give you a crash course. And we went out there and he showed me how to run the gears and the thing, and, you know, get it started and get it stopped. And I said, fine. So me and 3 or 4 other guys went down to Indianapolis. And that's, you know, I did that once. I don't ever have to do that again.
Doesn't appeal to me.
That was a little short delivery tractor
Okay.
going to a bakery in Indianapolis. So that wasn't carrying a humongous load, you know, and it was an in-town delivery thing. And I don't know what the wheelbase on that was, but it couldn't have been over 3 feet, I don't think, because from all the way from here down there, I mean, if it had not been for the lap belt, my head would have gone through the top of that cab. And man, it was the roughest ride. It was worse than the time I got thrown off a horse. It was a bad ride.
Okay, tell us about the time you got thrown off a horse. That's not an interesting story.
No, not really. It really wasn't a horse. It was just a big pony. But Barbara's dad had bought it for the kids. And I went out there one day to see Barbara, and nobody was home. But I knew where the tackle was, so I went out and got the saddle and bridle and put on that pony and jumped up on it and took off and out across the field, and it took about 4 or 5 steps, and then it took about 3 or 4 running steps, and then it bucked 3 or 4 times, and I ended up on my back laying in front of it with the reins in my hand. So I walked it back to the barn and took everything off of it, and so I didn't have to do that anymore either.
Well, your man experiences things and moves on.
Yeah, that's right.
He's getting in a rut.
That's right.
School bus.
We had a school bus given to us to the church.
Okay.
And we painted it blue, and I drove Boy Scouts to both of the 50-mile hikes in Michigan, and then the Boy Scouts gave it back to the church, and I drove it down to Miram to the church camp. So yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
And Barbara's grandpa was a was a livestock dealer. He lived out by New Columbus.
Right.
Did you ever hear tell of Jimmy Hoppus?
Jimmy Hoppus.
Hoppus.
Jimmy.
Jimmy Hoppus.
I know some Hoppus, but I don't.
Well, they lived on Alliance Road,
Okay.
and he dealt in livestock. He had a little 40-acre farm out there, and he bought and sold livestock, and he trucked livestock for other people. And for 2 summers, I worked for him. He was diabetic, and I went out there and plowed and planted and mowed and helped him take livestock down to Indianapolis. So I drove his big stock truck.
Okay. So, you've got experience experience with everything.
I've never driven a taxi cab.
Okay.
I don't want to.
I see you went walking and roller skating when you were young. You ever have a pogo stick?
No, but I've walked on stilts.
Oh, okay.
Does that count?
Yeah, that counts. That counts for a lot. Wow. Well, you've had a very interesting life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds like a pleasant life, too.
Oh, I've had a good life. I don't have any regrets.
You think of anything we missed on there?
I
I think we pretty well covered it.
yeah.
Did you? I'm curious. Did they still give out good conduct medals at that time? Or
Yes, and I had one.
you had one.
Yeah,
Okay.
can you imagine that?
Wow. They must not have heard about the door slamming.
No, there's a lot of things they didn't hear about.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. What about the housing on base? Mini housing.
I never used it.
Okay.
First of all, it was too hard to get. And secondly, they were all people that I didn't really want to associate with too much.
Yeah, okay.
So we rented, yeah.
Well, we always give our veterans a chance to say a few words for posterity. You got any words of wisdom you'd like to share with folks?
Oh, just never look back. There might be somebody back there you don't want to see.